Welcome to this deep dive. Well, this one is all about Amédée Gordini, the Sorcerer, they called him, of French motorsport. This one's especially for you fans of our show, Vintage Car Chronicles, our daily podcast where we explore classic car history. Now, you might know the Gordini name from those sporty Renault, those little pocket rockets, but his story goes way deeper than that. I mean, we're talking about a guy who turned ordinary cars into racing champions, basically, shaping the identity of French motorsport in the process.
And what's really fascinating is that Gordini wasn't even French originally. He was an Italian immigrant who just fell in love with mechanics, started tinkering in garages, working his magic on everything, from Fiats to Simcas, and just building his reputation as a true wizard with engines.
I'm picturing him like a mad scientist hunched over an engine, just like conjuring horsepower out of thin air. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But he didn't start out building these racing legends, right? He actually started his racing career in a very unexpected way.
Right, something about slow motion races. Yes, exactly. These were popular in the 1930s, and they were all about precision and fuel efficiency. Drivers had to maintain a very specific average speed, almost like a perfectly calculated road trip. And points were awarded for accuracy and how little fuel they used.
So it wasn't about brute force, but finesse. Interesting.
Yeah, it might sound a little dull compared to high-speed races, but this is really where Gordini honed his skills, developing this almost supernatural ability to squeeze every ounce of performance out of an engine.
It makes sense, though. It
Yeah.
forced him to really understand the heart of an engine, how to fine-tune it for maximum efficiency. And that's probably what allowed him to later work his magic on those Simcas, turning them into those giant slaying racing machines, right?
Exactly. People were just amazed by how he could take these unassuming little cars, the kind your neighbor might drive to the market, and turn them into serious competitors on the racetrack. He earned that nickname, the Sorcerer, because it really did seem like he had some sort of secret formula, some kind of magic touch when it came to engines.
Okay, so let's talk about those Simca Gordinis. I understand this was a real David versus Goliath situation with Gordini and his small team, taking on much larger, much better funded racing outfits.
It really was a classic underdog story. Gordini became the official tuner for Simca's race team, and together they scored some truly remarkable victories. They didn't have the resources of Ferrari or Maserati, but they had Gordini's ingenuity and this unwavering belief that they could compete with the best.
What were some of the key ingredients that made those Simca Gordini cars so special? Was it all about lightweight design, or was there something more to it?
It was definitely a combination of factors. The cars were incredibly light and nimble, which made them very quick through corners. But Gordini also had this knack for extracting surprising amounts of power from those Simca engines. He understood that you didn't need brute force to win races. You needed a car that was agile, balanced, and had just enough power to keep up with the pack.
So I'm imagining these little Simcas just zipping around corners, leaving the big, powerful cars in the dust, struggling to keep up. Must have been quite a sight. But even with all their success, there were tensions brewing behind the scenes, right?
Yeah. As much as they achieved together, Gordini's racing ambitions and Simca's focus on producing road cars, they were starting to diverge.
So it was a clash of visions, in a way.
Yeah, you could say that.
Gordini, the racer at heart, wanted to push boundaries and compete at the highest level, while Simca was, understandably, more concerned with the bottom line.
Exactly. And for Gordini, as brilliant as he was as an engineer, managing the financial side of things, it just wasn't his strong suit. He was a passionate creator, not a businessman.
So when Simca decided to scale back their racing efforts, Gordini saw an opportunity to break free and chase his own dreams, even if it meant facing a whole new set of challenges. It was a risky move going independent. I mean, no more factory backing, no more big budgets, but it also meant freedom. The ability to build cars exactly the way he envisioned them. I imagine it was exhilarating and terrifying all at the same time.
Absolutely. Gordini faced enormous financial and logistical obstacles as an independent constructor. He often had to rely on ingenuity and resourcefulness, using modified production car parts to build his race cars. And his team, a small but incredibly dedicated group, they often worked for little pay, driven by their shared passion for racing and their belief in Gordini's vision.
A true testament to the power of believing in something, even when the odds are stacked against you. Amazing. But those early years as an independent, they weren't just marked by struggles, were they? There were some incredible moments of triumph as well, like his legendary South American tours.
Yeah. Those tours were more than just racing expeditions. They were like scouting missions for talent. Gordini had this incredible ability to spot raw potential in young drivers. And it was during one of these tours that he discovered a young Argentine driver, named Juan Manuel Fangio, who would, of course, go on to become a 5-time Formula One world champion.
Wow. To think that Gordini played a role in shaping the career of one of the greatest racing drivers of all time, it just adds another layer to his already fascinating story. But those tours, they weren't without their challenges, right? I mean, motorsport back then was inherently dangerous.
Oh, absolutely. This was a time when safety measures were far less advanced than they are today. And tragically, Gordini did experience the loss of some of his drivers, including Jean-Pierre Wimille and Raymond Sommer, both incredibly talented individuals whose lives were cut short by racing accidents.
It must have been incredibly difficult for Gordini to cope with those losses. It's a reminder that for all the glory and excitement, motorsport has always carried a profound sense of risk. But despite those setbacks, Gordini persevered. He was driven by this unwavering passion, this almost obsessive desire to create the perfect racing machine.
He was.
And those years as an independent constructor, as challenging as they were, they really forged him into the legend he became. But as we know, the financial realities of running a racing team eventually caught up with him, leading to a pivotal partnership that would change the course of his career and the future of Renault. But before we get into that, let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned so far. It's just the beginning of Gordini's story. But already we see these themes of passion, ingenuity, and this incredible ability to overcome adversity.
We do. It really is a testament to how even setbacks can become stepping stones, you know? Those tough years as an independent, constantly battling financial constraints, they led him to a partnership that would completely redefine his legacy. His collaboration with Renault.
Almost like those struggles were preparing him for something bigger. Like he needed to go through that to really, refine his skills, his vision. So how did this partnership come about? Was it Renault who approached Gordini, recognizing his talent?
Well, it was more of a convergence of needs and aspirations. By the late 1950s, Renault was looking to inject some excitement into their lineup, create sportier versions of their cars that could appeal to a wider audience, maybe even capture some motorsport glory along the way. And Gordini, well, he needed the financial stability and the resources that a large manufacturer like Renault could provide.
A perfect match. Win-win situation. Gordini gets the backing he needs to pursue his dreams, and Renault gets to tap into this legendary expertise.
Yeah.
And that magical Gordini touch.
Yeah.
But it also marked a shift in focus for Gordini, didn't it? I mean, he went from building these purebred race cars to developing high-performance versions of road cars.
It was a transition, for sure, but it wasn't a complete departure from his roots. Gordini always believed in making performance accessible, not just something reserved for the elite few who could afford, a dedicated racing machine. And with Renault, he finally had the opportunity to bring that philosophy to a much larger audience.
The first car to emerge from this partnership was the Dauphine Gordini, right?
Exactly. The Dauphine was a small, economical car, popular with families, everyday drivers, and Gordini took that humble platform and transformed it into something special.
Yeah, I've heard stories about the Dauphine Gordini. It wasn't a fire-breathing monster or anything, but it was quick, nimble, and just incredibly fun to drive. Did it achieve much success in motorsport?
Well, it wasn't as dominant as some of the later Gordini creations, but it definitely made its mark. It won its class in several rallies, proving that even a small, unassuming car could be a formidable competitor with the right touch. But perhaps even more importantly, the Dauphine Gordini really helped to establish the Gordini name as a symbol of affordable performance, something that everyday drivers could aspire to.
It's fascinating how his approach, his philosophy, was almost perfectly aligned with that emerging hot hatch trend. It was about taking an ordinary car, a car that anyone could buy, and injecting it with this dose of sportiness, excitement. And that brings us to what is arguably the most iconic Gordini creation of all, the car that truly cemented his legacy as a legend, the Renault 8 Gordini.
The R8 Gordini was a revelation. It took everything that Gordini had learned throughout his career, his mastery of engines, his obsession with handling, his belief in accessible performance, and distilled it all into a car that captured the imagination of a generation.
Before we dive into the specifics of the R8 Gordini, I'm just curious about the transition from working with Simca to this partnership with Renault. Were there any specific engineering innovations, signature Gordini touches that carried over from those earlier cars to his work with Renault?
That's a great question. It's like asking an artist if their earlier work influences their current style. And the answer, in Gordini's case, is definitely yes. His obsession with lightweight design, his almost fanatical attention to detail when it came to engine tuning, those were hallmarks of his work from the very beginning.
So those core principles, that DNA, It was already there, honed through years of experience, countless hours spent tinkering in the garage.
Precisely. And with Renault, he had access to more resources, a larger team, which allowed him to really push those principles even further.
Okay, let's talk about the R8 Gordini. Paint me a picture. What was it about this car that made it so special? What were the key ingredients that turned this humble little Renault into a giant killer?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that the standard Renault 8, while a decent car, it wasn't exactly known for its performance. It was a practical, economical car designed for everyday transportation. But Gordini saw its potential. He saw a platform that could be transformed into something truly exciting.
Like he had this X-ray vision, this ability to see the hidden potential in a car that most people would just overlook.
He really did. And with the R8, he started with the engine, increased its displacement, added a new cylinder head, fitted twin Weber carburetors. It was a complete overhaul. A masterpiece of engineering that resulted in an engine that was nearly twice as powerful as the standard R8s.
It was like he breathed fire into that little engine, transforming it from a docile workhorse into a raging beast. But it wasn't just about raw power, was it? Gordini always emphasized handling and balance.
Absolutely. He lowered the suspension, stiffened the springs, and added larger brakes. To give the R8 Gordini the agility it needed to carve through corners, he understood that speed is only part of the equation. You need a car that can handle that power, that can dance through corners with precision and grace.
So it was a holistic transformation, a true Gordini special. It wasn't just about bolting on a bigger engine. It was about creating a car that was perfectly balanced, a car that was as rewarding to drive on a winding mountain road as it was on a rally stage.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a performer. It looked the part, too. That iconic blue paint, those white racing stripes, it just screamed performance. It was a car that turned heads wherever it went.
It's funny you mentioned the stripes. I read that they weren't just for aesthetics. They actually helped to reduce glare from the headlights at night, which was particularly helpful during rally stages.
You're absolutely right. A perfect example of Gordini's attention to detail. How he always considered both form and function. Those stripes were both stylish and functional, a testament to his holistic approach to design.
Amazing how he managed to combine those seemingly contradictory elements, performance and practicality, style and substance. It's what made the R8 Gordini so special, so appealing to a wide range of drivers.
It was. And it wasn't just about appealing to drivers, it was about achieving results on the track. The R8 Gordini was a dominant force in rallying, winning the Tour de Corse, one of the most challenging rallies in the world, 3 years in a row.
Speaking of the Tour de Corse, can you explain to our listeners why this particular rally was so significant? It's not just a name. It represents something very specific in the world of motorsport, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The Tour de Corse, also known as the Rally of 10,000 Corners, it's held on the island of Corsica and is famous for its incredibly tight and twisty mountain roads. A true test of a car's handling and a driver's skill. And for the R8 Gordini to win there, not just once, but 3 times in a row, it really speaks volumes about its capabilities.
A car that could dance on the edge of a knife? A true driver's car that rewarded those who dared to push it to its limits. But the R8 Gordini's impact, it extended far beyond the rally stages, didn't it?
You're talking about the Coupe Gordini racing series, right?
Exactly. This is a single-make racing series, exclusively for Renault 8 Gordinis, like a proving ground for young drivers, a stepping stone to bigger and better things.
It was an incredibly successful formula. The Coupe Gordini provided aspiring young drivers with an affordable and competitive platform to hone their skills. Some of the greatest French racing drivers of all time, guys like Jean-Pierre Jabouille, Bernard Darniche, and Jean Ragnati, they all cut their teeth in the Coupe Gordini.
Incredible to think that this one car, the R8 Gordini, played such a significant role in shaping the careers of so many talented drivers. It's a testament to its design, its affordability, and its ability to inspire passion and ignite dreams. But the Gordini story doesn't end with the R8, does it?
No, it doesn't. The Gordini name lived on, gracing sportier versions of later Renault models, like the Renault 12 Gordini. But those cars, while carrying the Gordini badge, they were perhaps a bit more subdued, more grand tour than purebred sports car. They represented a slight shift in focus, but the essence of Gordini's philosophy, that pursuit of accessible performance, it was still there.
And then, of course, the revival of the Gordini name in the 2000s, with sportier versions of the Twingo and Clio, wearing the iconic blue and white colors. That decision sparked some debate among enthusiasts, with some feeling that it diluted the legacy, while others saw it as a fitting tribute.
It's always a challenge to revive a legendary name, to find that balance between honoring the past and embracing the present. But regardless of where you stand on that debate, it's clear that the Gordini name still holds a special place in the hearts of car enthusiasts around the world.
So as we approach the final stretch of our deep dive into the world of Amédée Gordini, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on his lasting legacy. What is it about this man, this immigrant mechanic who became a motorsport legend, that continues to resonate with people today?
Well, I think Gordini's story is a reminder that passion, ingenuity, and an unwavering pursuit of excellence can overcome even the most daunting obstacles. I mean, he started with nothing, working on other people's cars. But through sheer determination and talent, he transformed himself into a force to be reckoned with in the world of motorsport. He challenged the status quo, proving that you didn't need a massive budget or a famous name to achieve great things.
A true underdog, a champion of the little guy.
Exactly. And his cars, they weren't just machines, they were expressions of his personality, his philosophy. They were fast, fun, and most importantly, accessible. He wanted to share his love of driving, his passion for performance, with as many people as possible.
And he did it all with a touch of style. A flair that was uniquely Gordini, the blue and white colors, the evocative name, it all added up to a brand that was instantly recognizable, instantly desirable.
It did. It's hard to overstate the impact that Gordini had on French motorsport and on car culture as a whole. He inspired generations of drivers and engineers, showing them that anything is possible if you dare to dream big and work tirelessly to achieve those dreams.
A story that continues to inspire today. A reminder that passion, ingenuity, and a bit of magic can take you further than you ever thought possible.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about the impact one person can have, the ripple effect of their passion and dedication. Gordini's story, it's not just about cars, it's about the triumph of the human spirit, you know what I mean?
It really is. It's a story that resonates far beyond the world of motorsport. It's about the power of dreams, the courage to chase those dreams, even when everyone else tells you it's impossible. And Gordini, he proved that those dreams can become reality. If you have the talent, the drive, and the willingness to never give up. Absolutely. And speaking of those dreams becoming reality, we've talked a lot about Gordini's journey, his innovations, his impact on French motorsport. But for our listeners who might not be familiar with his cars, can you give us a bit more of a visual, what was it like to actually see a Gordini in action, to hear that engine roar?
Okay, so imagine this. A small, unassuming car, something you might see parked outside a bakery on a Sunday morning. But then, as it drives by, you hear this growl, this almost animalistic snarl from the exhaust. You see those signature blue and white stripes flashing past. And you realize that's no ordinary car, that's a Gordini.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It wasn't just about speed, though, was it?
Yeah.
There was a certain style, a certain swagger to those cars that really set them apart.
Oh, absolutely. They had this aura, this presence that commanded attention. You knew just by looking at them that they were built for something special, that they were meant to be driven with passion.
They weren't just cars, they were statements, rolling embodiments of Gordini's philosophy, his belief in the power of dreams and the pursuit of excellence. And that's why, even today, decades after his passing, the Gordini name continues to evoke this sense of excitement, this sense of wonder.
It does. It's a testament to the man, his vision, and his ability to create something truly special. He wasn't just an engineer, he was an artist. He took metal and rubber and transformed them into objects of desire, objects that inspired people to dream bigger, to push harder, to never settle for the ordinary.
Well said. Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the incredible world of Amédée Gordini. It's been a journey through time, a journey fueled by passion, innovation, and a relentless pursuit of speed.
It has.
A story that reminds us that greatness can come from the most unexpected places, that even a small, unassuming man can leave an indelible mark on the world, if he has the talent, the drive, and the belief in himself. So for all of you listeners out there, whether you're gearheads or just casual fans of automotive history, remember the name Amédée Gordini. Remember his story, his passion, and his incredible legacy. And if you want to delve deeper into the fascinating world of classic cars, be sure to check out our show Vintage Car Chronicles, with new episodes released daily, only on Spotify.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time, keep the passion for cars alive.